This is one of my favorite new watches of 2025, and this is the newly released Longines Spirit Flyback Chronograph, now in 39.5mm. If you've been a fan of flyback chronographs, you're really gonna like this. And this is a smaller version of the 42mm version that came out a few years ago. However, it is much thinner, and I'm gonna show you all the new details and differences too. Now, it's no secret that Longines has been coming out with some of the best value watches in their price point for the last few years. So if you're looking for a new Longines watch, you can reach out to my store, Carrot & Co., an authorized dealer for Longines. But let's just start with the basics. So this is now 39.5mm with a 13.4mm of thickness. It's much more wearable than the previous 42mm version, which had a 17mm of thickness. That watch was like wearing a slab of metal on the wrist, and I can say that this wears so much better. Yeah, this is something I would actually wear now. Now, 13.4mm thickness is similar to something like the Omega Speedmaster Moon watch. However, this watch does have a long length, and that's because of the end links. If you look at the watch from the side view, you'll notice that the end link to end link is around 53mm. For a watch that's 39.5mm, that's quite long. However, that's only on the bracelet, because if you wear this watch on a strap, the end link to end link comes out to around 47 to 48mm, which is much more manageable. Now, this watch does come in either a stainless steel bracelet like the one I'm showing you today, or a brown leather strap. The case and bracelet are in stainless steel with brush finishing and some accents of high polish, just like the other watches in the Spirit line. The bracelet starts at 20mm between the lugs, and it tapers down to something like 18mm at the clasp. I really like the detailing on the clasp. It just has the Longines hourglass logo with the wings. You have two buttons to open the clasp, and there's an on-the-fly micro adjustment inside the clasp, which is something that you've been seeing since the Hydro Conquest GMT, and I'm glad Longines has now continued it into the Spirit line. There's also no crown guards on the pushers, giving it a little bit of that vintage look. There's sapphire crystal on top and bottom of the watch. There's also anti-reflective coating on the crystal. However, one of the best things is that this watch basically doesn't have any glare, which means that when I was filming this video and taking photos and videos, I basically did not have a hard time because it was really easy to read the time and see the dial. On top of that, you have a bidirectional scratch-proof ceramic bezel. This is a countdown bezel, which I'll touch upon a little bit later. It's fully loomed, including all the dial, numerals, and hands, which is awesome. And the bezel actually reminds me of the Blancpain 50 Fathom Hodinkee edition. Although you'll notice that the 15 and 45 are flipped because of the countdown bezel. The crown is large and easy to grip with or without gloves like traditional pilots would use, and there's even a Longines logo on the side of the crown. Now let's talk about the dial. If you've been following the Longines Spirit collection for a while, do you notice that there's something different about this watch compared to the rest of the line? I think most of you would have guessed it. There's no more of those 5 stars on the dial. Now previously, Longines would put the 5 stars on the dial because it would relink to chronometer and its certification, but it's kind of like giving yourself a pat on the back. At least that's the way a lot of people saw it. And I think with a lot of people's criticism, they wanted no more stars on the dial, so Longines replaced it with 3 lines of text, which now read flyback, chronometer, and officially certified. If you were to ask me, I still think 3 lines of text is a little bit long. I think 2 lines could have been fine with just flyback and chronometer. But hey, I'm actually happy because I prefer this without the 5 stars. So it actually balances it out pretty nicely. Up top, you have the Longines text and the hourglass logo again. This time, no automatic text because this is a manual winding watch. All the numerals are applied and filled with super luminova, some of the brightest that they put on any of their watches. There's a minute track on the edge, which slopes down into the dial, and there's this nice gilt colored ring that creates nice symmetry on the dial. Now, something that's different on this 39.5mm version is that the numerals 10, 2, 4, and 8 are slightly cut off, whereas if you compare it to the 42mm version, that dial has a lot more space, so they didn't have to cut off any of the numerals. I think some people might be a little iffy with that just because they want to have all the numerals easy to read, but I see it as a trade-off. I would rather have a smaller case and more wearable watch than to worry about the numerals. And in my time with this watch, it didn't really stop me from being able to read the time perfectly. And let me show you how you can use this watch to time different events with different ways. So obviously on that watch, you have the hours and minutes, and at 9 o'clock, you have the running small seconds, which is 60, 20, 40. If you were to stop the chronograph, you will see this one would continue to run, and that's how you know if your watch is actually running and keeping time. Now, unlike other chronograph watches, every time the chronograph hand in the center goes around one full rotation, you won't see the minute hand jump to the next numeral. Instead, it just slowly elapses to the next line. And to use the FlyBack chronograph, basically it's the same as a regular chronograph. The top pusher is to start and stop, and the bottom pusher is to reset. Now with the FlyBack chronograph, you get an added feature. Let's say you had to time 2 events simultaneously back to back. So normally what you would have to do is start the chronograph, stop it, and then reset and then start again. So you have like 4 different steps. Now, if you're timing an event that's really crucial to down to the like millisecond, you don't want to have all those extra steps. So what you do is now you have a flyback function. While the chronograph is still running, you go ahead and hit the bottom pusher and the chronograph resets and starts right away. So with one button, you've taken out 3 extra steps. Now the chronograph can count up to 30 minutes, but let's say you wanted to time a separate event at the same time, and that's where the countdown bezel comes in play. So this bezel, unlike a dive bezel, is bidirectional, which means that it goes in both directions. You'll notice that the number 15 and 45 are flipped when you compare it to regular dive bezels. And the way you do this is basically wherever the current minute hand is, you can put the number. So for example, I'm going to put the number 30 at where the current minute hand is. And now as time naturally elapses, when that minute hand hits the triangle, that means 30 minutes has passed. Now you can do that with any of the other numerals or lines on the bezel, and that way now you can count up with the chronograph and count down with the bezel. Something I forgot to mention, the case back of this watch is screwed down, and so that gives this watch 100 meters of water resistance. If you're a pilot, I hope you never have to use that amount of water resistance. Now through the sapphire crystal case back, you can see the movement. It's a column wheel movement, and there's some blue screws, and also the column wheel is in blue. So as I activate and push the top pusher, you'll see the chronograph column wheel activate, and then when you reset the bottom, you'll see another lever activate. It's really nice because you get a beautiful view of the movement, and it is nicely finished, especially for its price point. You do get some of this like Geneva stripes going on, or at least their version of Côte de Genève. You also get some perlage, and you also get a view into the silicone balance spring, and it's a silicone balance spring, so you don't have to worry about putting your phone or magnet or your laptop too close to this watch and accidentally magnetizing your watch. On most normal watches, if you magnetize your watch will run fast because the hairspring will stick together and spin faster. Now this is Longines' new exclusive hand wound movement, the caliber L792.4. It has a 68-hour power reserve that Longines guarantees can wind to full power within 42 turns. So you won't be winding this indefinitely. This will probably take you less than a minute to fully wind. It's also chronometer certified, which is -4 to +6 seconds. But in my time wearing this watch, it highly exceeded that. It was about 1 second accurate per day in either minus or plus, which is awesome. Now this watch officially comes out today on October 2nd. And it's priced at $5,500 on the bracelet. Now, when you compare that to other flyback chronographs on the market, the first one I think about is the Blancpain Air Command flyback chronograph, but that one goes for around $20,000 or at least 4 times more than this watch. So at a price point of $5,500, you're getting a lot of watch for the money. And like I said in the beginning of this video, that's part of the reason why Longines has been making so many great value watches in their price point, and why this is one of my favorite releases of the year. Now this watch was also co-released with another Longines Spirit pilot watch, now in 39mm, which also took off the stars. But between those two, I think this one was definitely my favorite because of the flyback chronograph, countdown bezel, and the new size. And the fact that there's basically no other flyback chronograph in this price point is what makes it one of my favorites. Let me know in the comments what you think about Longines' new Spirit Flyback Chronograph in 39.5mm. Would you consider picking one up? Again, if you're looking for a new watch, you can reach out to my store Carrot & Co., an authorized dealer for Longines. Now, if you want to see another watch review, go ahead and click on this link here. Thanks for watching. It's been a minute, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.